Yeah, so the question was, how do you identify interesting markets and what are some signals for them? I think one signal is just what are really smart people doing, and it could be especially smart, slightly weird people, or people who are just willing to sort of buck the trend, or the person who's always on to the next sort of cool thing. And I think that's actually often an interesting leading indicator. There was so many developers working on crypto when nobody was talking about it, relative to sort of the total population of other things that people could have been working on, that there was signal there that something interesting was going on. So I think that's sort of one big signal. I think the second one, if you're doing more like SaaS or B2B things as an investor or as a founder, is what are the things that your friends are starting to adopt as founders, as pieces of technology or things that are broken that everybody's complaining about. You're getting dinner and everybody's complaining about something. You're like, oh, maybe that's an opportunity. So I think often as well is just sort of driven by what you yourself need. I think you can also do it more analytically. Like I think that one of the big myths of Silicon Valley is that founders need to work in that thing that they always dreamed of since they were little. And I don't think anybody ever dreamed of like working on ERP when they were little. Like some 5-year-old's like, I really want to do ERP. Do people know what ERP is? Okay, a subset do, a subset don't. It's enterprise resource planning software. So it's basically like software that helps connect a bunch of different sort of plumbing in your business between, finance and a bunch of different areas. And so it's not like some 5-year-olds, I would love to build this stuff. And there's all these founder myths, and I think that's part of the problem. Like the press often wants to write about the personal story of the founder instead of the company. And so the founders invent these like amazing myths of how ever since they were 7, they were, like Brian Chesky was letting people live in his house when he was 7 years old or whatever it is. And so I just think like some of this stuff gets rewritten. I think it's more sometimes you can be very analytical about it. And for example, I would love to do the analysis of what are the things that Fortune 500 companies consistently keep having to deal with or build themselves. And Checker is a great example, right? Background checking API, massive service, great company, and I think there's like a dozen of those, right? Where it's just simple things that people have to repeatedly do at scale that if you provide it for everybody else, it'll be really valuable.
You're familiar with Keith Rabois' like top-down big companies NPS approach?
Yeah.
There's another one that I really like, which I think is Keith Rabois, which is you find a market that's highly fragmented, that's massive. You can go look at the size of the companies. It's like $10 billion plus companies, and the NPS scores are really low. So like you talk to their customers and they hate it. So when you have this like perfect intersection of highly fragmented market, really, really large companies, but actually the customers don't like the companies, that's a great place for a startup to start going and poking around and see. Look at something like Open Door. Real estate is massive, mortgages are massive, but nobody says like yes. I had such a wonderful experience with, I'm not going to name any names, but like people, that's not something people say, and you can look at the NPS scores actually top down and identify markets that way.